I think almost all of us have been in a relationship where we've been hurt. And I'm not talking about specifically romantic relationships. I'm also talking about friendships. Honestly, some of my biggest pain from being hurt in relationships have come from my platonic friendships with other women, even more so than a romantic relationship where my ex-boyfriend cheated on me. It hurt more to lose my best friend than it did to lose my boyfriend. Getting over those relationships and healing from those relationships is something that we're not really taught how to do. But it's something that I've been putting to practice the last few years and something that I feel like I need to talk about. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Jackie and I help people live better lives. So don't forget to click subscribe because with me on your side, I'm going to help you level up mentally, physically, spiritually. And then after we find that alignment within, I'm also going to help you level up aesthetically. And I'm going to help you manifest a life that looks good on the outside just as much as it feels good on the inside. I've created kind of like a process to healing a relationship where we were hurt, a way to move through the different phases of healing a relationship where we were hurt. And the first step and the most important step is to stop worrying about the other person. Start worrying about yourself. Put the focus on yourself, worry about yourself. I don't know what goes on in male platonic friend groups, but especially in like female circles, we tend to gaslight each other and we're like, he's an asshole. I can't believe he did this to you. He's this way because of his fear of abandonment and his mom did this to him and da 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 da. We're talking about a platonic friendship. We're like, she's a bitch. She's this way because of her trauma, because of this. We have to stop trying to unpack the other person's trauma and we have to sit with our own trauma. At the end of the day, if we are hurt from a relationship, that relationship traumatized us and we have to sit with our own trauma and worry about ourselves and stop worrying about the other person. We could sit for days trying to unpack what they went through that caused them to be a shitty person towards us. But that's not going to do anything for us. That's not helping us to heal. That's actually just making us obsess and it's not healthy and it's not doing anything for us. So every single step of this process is going to require you to sit with yourself and to be with yourself and to worry about yourself. And now that we've conquered step one and we're worrying about ourselves, we're going to lean into step number two, which is self-reflection. We have to self-reflect if we want to heal. We really need to dive into that shadow work to understand what caused us the pain, to identify our feelings and our true thoughts about it, and to really understand what the impact that this relationship had on us was. And just to give an example of what this means, my ex cheated on me. Yes, it's very easy to say, oh, I'm in pain because he cheated on me, but what is the underlying issue with that pain? For me, it made me feel like I wasn't good enough, and it made me feel so rejected. And it brought up this huge fear of rejection. And that fear of rejection was sitting in my shadow. And until I started to worry about myself and stop worrying about him and the girl he cheated on me with, I wasn't able to dig into myself and I wasn't able to heal. If shadow work is new for you, I made an entire video on how to do shadow work. Every single step of the shadow work is going to be necessary if you're looking to heal a relationship where you were hurt. I'm going to link that video up here as well as below in the description. It is so important to understand shadow work, and especially if we're looking to self-reflect, you kind of have to dig into that shadow work. After we started digging into our shadow work, we started understanding our patterns, understanding our thoughts, understanding how we really truly feel. We have to accept. Not only do we have to accept the feelings and the emotions that are coming up without judgment, we have to make sure that we give ourselves a judgment-free space, but we also have to accept that we allowed this to happen to us. Understanding our role within it, because very often we have those gut feelings, we have those instincts, we have that intuitive nudge that this is going to lead somewhere where it's going to be painful. And instead of letting it go, we cling to it tighter and we push the relationship to a point where it gets very painful. That is something that we are very complicit in. It's not just that my ex cheated on me, but it's also that I allowed myself to be in a relationship with someone that cheated on me. And that is something I needed to accept with myself and I needed to heal within myself. It had nothing to do with him. It had everything to do with me. That's going to bring up a lot of really painful stuff. That's going to be a lot of shit that's in that shadow that needs to be dug out and needs to be healed. But at the end of the day, if we keep pushing it away, if we keep swallowing that pain, we are never going to heal from it. And the only thing we need to do to heal from it is feel it. You know that saying, you have to feel it to heal it. Until we accept it and admit it to ourselves, we're not going to be able to heal it. Digging into that shadow work and accepting what we find out about ourselves in there is so important. After we dug into the shadow, after we've accepted some of the shit that we found in there, we really need to offer ourselves compassion, because beating ourselves up is only going to further hurt us. We need to be there for ourselves. We need to let ourselves know that you didn't know better, so you couldn't do better, and really just support ourselves, be kind to ourselves, be gentle with ourselves. Then piggybacking off of giving ourselves that compassion, we need to forgive ourselves. It's one thing to think about forgiving the other person, but it's most important for you to forgive yourself, because like I said, we often put ourselves in these relationships. We put ourselves in the place where we're going to get hurt. We don't listen to our gut feelings, and then we end up getting hurt. And we're not really necessarily hurt at the hand of the other person. We're hurt at the hands of ourselves. So we have to forgive ourselves for putting ourselves in that situation to be hurt. Now that we've sat with our feelings and we've cried and, we've practiced self-awareness, let's pick ourselves up and empower ourselves a little bit, and let's find the fucking lesson, because the next step is to find the lesson here. And if we are unable to find the lesson in this relationship, we are going to repeat this relationship again and again and again. And I know that you have heard it before. You've heard someone say, hell, maybe even you've said it before, of course this is happening to me again, or a different person, but the same old story. If you are having the same relationship with a different person, the other person isn't to blame. You are to blame. Find the lesson in this relationship so that you can heal it. Me personally, I like a little tough love, so I don't know who needs to hear this, but whatever you're going through, it is all your fault. I'm going to link that video here. Sometimes we just need a perspective shift to help us find the lesson. I'm just saying. After you find that lesson and you're starting to feel a little more empowered and you're starting to move on and get some stride and healing from this relationship, I'm going to ask you to cultivate some self-love. Give yourself the things that you didn't get from that relationship. How can you give yourself the support that you wanted from that relationship? How can you give yourself the love that you wanted from that relationship? What is your love language? How can you give yourself that love language? Find some self-love and pour it into yourself and give yourself that self-love, because if you don't give it to you, you shouldn't be expecting anyone else to give it to you. It brings me to the last, final, possibly the hardest step of healing a relationship where we were hurt, and that's to forgive and find compassion for the other party. And I understand, especially if you're deep in the pain of a fresh breakup or of a fresh relationship where your best friend hurt you, it's really hard to think of that, find compassion for them. I totally get it. It is one of the hardest things that I've had to do, and I have struggled with it. At the end of the day, hurt people, and really hurt people hurt good people. And unfortunately, more often than not, the person who gets the most hurt in a relationship is a good person, a kind person, a generous person, someone who has a lot to offer. And it makes me sad for the other party, the person who hurt the good person, because it makes me think of how much pain they must have been through in their life where they feel okay with hurting someone else, and how hurt they must be inside in a way that I will never know or comprehend. Finding that compassion for them is a lot easier when you realize that in order for them to do that, they must be going through some really dark shit inside that I will never be able to unpack. And that just brings me to what I said in the beginning. It's not my job to unpack that shit. It's not my job to understand the traumas they went through, the whatever fears they have, whatever shit that they have going on in their shadow. That's not mine to unpack. But I can offer them compassion and forgiveness, because without forgiveness, we're not going to truly be able to heal. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. Again, my name is Jackie, and I help people live better lives. Whether I'm helping you to heal from a relationship where you were hurt, or I'm helping you to take control over your subconscious mind, or maybe I'm giving you some tips on how to lose weight without dieting or exercise, I help people level up their mind, their body, and their soul to find an alignment within, and then I help you with the aesthetics of it all. So do not forget to click subscribe, because I make new videos every week that's going to help you live a better life